President Obama's European tour brought him to Vatican City today, where he met with Pope Francis for the first time. Now, they sat down for just under an hour here, and they discussed where they have common ground, such as world conflicts and income inequality.
Like people around the world, I've been incredibly moved by his compassion, his message of inclusion. I was grateful to have the opportunity to speak with him about the responsibilities that we all share to care for the least of these, the poor, the excluded.
Okay. Brad, put the consultant hat on here. This is not easy because certainly while people this week have been talking about Hobby Lobby and the contraception thing, the church and the president, they got a lot of daylight on that, okay? But this Pope made a comment not long ago that said, how is it a headline when an elderly person can freeze to death on the streets or starve to death? But that's not a story, but if the market moves 2 points, it is. He's made a big point about globally that the gap of have and have-nots getting wider and wider is a major, major problem. The president, whether it's minimum wage, whether it's unemployment insurance, whether it's food stamps, whatever, he's like, preach on, Father. You know, is there simpatico between the two? Can they make it work?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, they both believe in that tale of two cities where Mayor de Blasio was preaching about and won the campaign based on that. It's going on.
But that's New York City. Can you make it a message that plays nationally?
Well, there's absolutely, it exists. Look, it resonates with the Democratic base. It always has. I mean, that's bread and butter for the Democrats. And I think we need to get, I may have tipped my cap here, but every Democrats need to get back to that and start talking about those things because we want to care for those who are less fortunate, the ones who do not have, and the ones who, the things we can do for them.
Do the optics for me. He's not exactly going to be showing up in Des Moines and at rallies here where there's, you know, swing seats going on. The Pope I'm talking about with the Pope Mobile, or with the new version of it. So how do you tie optically the church or the Pope more specifically and the Democratic message?
Well, look, listen, they're talking about it, okay? So they're having that conversation about the things they agree on. They're not talking about the things they don't, because that's negative for Democrats and negative for the president. But if the Pope feels more enthusiastic to talk about some of these haves and have-not issues, and the president is then echoing it here in the United States, it'll give him a bigger megaphone.
We're going to play a funny ad later on. It's in the heartland where a woman, for female candidates, talking about castrating a pig. So I've seen crazy ads, but I don't exactly see, hey, a vote for me is a vote for this guy, pointing to a pope in a campaign spot in North Dakota in a Senate race. So can you work in, you know, the head of a church and a political message?
I just think the photo of the two of them together is what they're going to use. Because remember, the Pope told him he doesn't like the idea of the abortion piece and the health care law, according to the news. He didn't like some of the things that were being pushed by the Obama administration. So there are those areas where they disagree. You start getting into some of these social issues, and that look of the two of them together is not quite as charming. I mean, on the other hand, I think Brad's absolutely correct. This is, and he also could learn a little humility from this Pope, who I think has an abundance of it. But
well, listen, there'll be a formal invitation to come to the States from the president. If he comes, it'll be really interesting where and how and how the messaging comes out.
But you're already starting to see the messaging come out when you have Democrats who are talking about income inequality and some of the programs that are designed to even some of that out, just in terms of name dropping. Even Pope, they'll say as they're talking about the benefits of food stamps or the benefits of unemployment, even Pope Francis is saying we need to do something about this. I don't think it makes for an ad. I think that would be a little unseemly. But you're seeing it in a lot of speeches, and I think you'll start to hear it even more.
No bumper sticker between the Pope and the president. But I do agree the message of the two that's being said, it resonates with the Democratic base, and thus it energizes the
let's
base.
take religion away from the Republicans. Democrats could take a little religion too. Democrats, you know, are allowed to work with religious leaders. I gotta hit a break,
and I'll only say this: taking politics out for a second. I know that's where we started. I'll only say, as a guy who's there on Sundays, it's nice for the liturgy to get away from some of the politics of abortion, reproductive rights that you seem to hear a lot, at least I do, in the last 15 years on Sundays, and more about feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and some of the core things that the church was so much about and still is about. And I think that's more of it now. So take that for what it's worth. Okay, when we come back, New York State prepared to spend billions and billions of dollars for a new bridge. And no, this is not some Brooklyn Bridge joke. But the question is, where will the money come from to pay for the Tappan Zee Bridge, the new one? Tolls could have you digging much deeper into your pockets, and still people are saying, but even that, will that be enough? How are we going to pay for this thing? We'll talk about that after this.